There's so much uncertainty when it comes to the captain of the Mets. And, you look at the guys returning. Reyes is back. Cabrera's back. Walker's back. Anthony, how does David Wright factor in to the Mets planning this offseason?
Well, I think all that uncertainty, Steve, is already factored in. Look, the Mets are going into this season very much wanting David Wright to be a part of it. David Wright very much wants to be a part of what's going on, and that is the ultimate goal. But the fact is, no one knows exactly how much he's going to be able to contribute. So when you look at what's going on, I think having Jose Reyes for the Mets could not be bigger. He is a guy who has proven now. He showed last year that he can play third base every day if need be. And if not need be, in a perfect world, he can sub in 2 times a week when David Wright needs a day off. He can bounce around the diamonds. I think that's just a huge peace of mind for the Mets and something that they didn't necessarily have last year when Wilmer Flores had more question marks surrounding him than Jose Reyes does now.
And, having Jose Reyes for the full season, I think, is a huge key as well. I mean, that's a guy that he can do so many things for you. He can fit in, obviously, at the top of the lineup. I think Wilmer Flores has found a nice niche as a player, so I think they're in a better position to utilize him to help cover in case David can't go. I think they're in a much better spot now than they were a year ago.
One thing we talk about when discussing David Wright is whether or not he will be on the field. But there's another aspect about his effectiveness when he's on the field. Todd, in the limited time that Wright was healthy last season, what did you see from him in terms of production?
Well, obviously, offensively, he was struggling with the back. That also affects his neck, which affects his shoulder. And he wasn't really catching up to balls that he normally would. Balls that he would normally square up, he wasn't really getting. He struck out quite a bit more often than he normally would, which is also evidence of the fact that he wasn't healthy. On the defensive side of the ball, he was also dealing with that shoulder and the neck. And as you'll see in the video, he drops his arm angle. It's something that he's had to do to deal with the pain in his neck and the situation that he has in his back. You see, he drops the arm angle here. The ball floats. He doesn't get as much velocity on the ball. And this guy's a great third baseman. He fields everything. But you can see the stiffness with him right here. You look back and straight ahead right there, he's nothing but arm. He's slinging it from the side. The ball's not getting there. He doesn't have the velocity. You look back in 2014, he comes in. He's got a lot more agility. He fires, and you can really see the torque in his torso right there. That's a big difference. That core being able to really twist and turn, and then the arm strength that comes with it. It's a big difference defensively for him, and he's a guy that I think he needs to be healthy for the Mets to really have a bat in the solid, the middle of that lineup. And I think it puts a lot more pressure on the Mets to sign Cespedes if he's not going to be healthy.
It's interesting because one thing that David Wright has, and many superstar guys have this, is an incredible amount of confidence in their own ability. And one of the things that struck me, and I know it struck the two of you, after the wild card loss to the Giants, David Wright was standing by his locker. We all had a chance to speak with him a little bit. And there just seems to be a little bit of a different tone. There seemed to be a little bit of a different tone, Mark, from David Wright in that particular moment.
Yeah, I think it was one of the rare instances in the time that I've covered him, certainly, where he's kind of acknowledging that, look, it's a different period in his career. He's got an uphill climb. He's got some serious issues to work around. So I think there's still an optimism there. He thinks he's going to be on the field. But it's one of the first times I can recall, and I think you've covered it longer than I mean, he just is not the type to go and almost acknowledge these things, and he totally did that after the wild card game.
He's not the type at all, which is what made it so striking to me, seeing him there at his locker, and really a guy kind of looking at his mortality for the first time. He's in his mid-30s now. He knows what his baseball future is, and I think as an athlete, it's hard to wrap your head around that the end is coming, the end is going to come eventually. I think David Wright sees that now, and while he still very much wants to be productive, he knows that it can't last forever. Now, the thing that's going to be a challenge for him this winter, going into the spring, is we've talked so much about his neck and the surgery and coming back from that. He really has not been able to do the back exercises that he's needed to. The things that helped him get on the field back in 2015 for the spinal stenosis, that was a very lengthy, involved process, and he really had to put it aside because of the neck and because of the surgery. So how he gets back into that once he's cleared for baseball activities, in December, I think is going to be a big thing for him, getting back to what he was doing, what let him get on the field in 2015, and be productive for them down the stretch.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this conversation right now is that there are kind of two separate elements that you need to concern yourself with if you're talking about David Wright. There's the mental side of things, what we've been talking about, his acknowledgement that maybe he won't be the same as he once was, but then the physical side, as you're discussing. Anthony, Todd, when you look at it and you look at David Wright here, what concerns you more, the physical hurdles or the mental hurdles?
With some guys, I would say mentally it's more difficult to come back from injury and to be productive than it is physically. But with David, he's a different animal. He's been through adversity. He's seasoned. The character of the guy, he works hard, he busts his butt out there, and he's done all the training. I think right now it's becoming more physically challenging to him than mentally. I think he's got the mental approach to be able to handle whatever comes his way. I think the limitations now are really physical, and that may be part of the reason that he's feeling at some level a little bit defeated, because he knows it's just not a matter of willing himself to go and compete anymore. It's a matter of, hey, my body's just not responding the way it used to.